Hey, happy full moon contemplation. I attempted to get this out for Halloween when we were having the full moon, but what I realized um, was that I really needed a couple of days. I needed to feel the energy of the moon on Saturday and really fully allow everything that's been coming to me to sit in my body and come to a place of um, understanding so that I could bring the messages in clearly. So I've connected in with the Akashic Records over the course of the last couple weeks so many times, and from my intention setting ceremony that I did. And some really beautiful wisdom has come through. So if you're listening to this, then I invite you into the space with me in a spirit of contemplation. So, what is contemplation? It's different than meditation, it's different than concentration. It actually uses a little bit of both. And so, I've been contemplating shadow frequencies, especially as they relate to relationship and what the power of love can do. I've had this incredible couple of weeks. I feel like I've lived a lifetime in the last couple of weeks, and it's been profound, and it has happened because I've dedicated myself to being open to looking at this. There's this incredible shift happening in the world. Many of you might be feeling it. There are major election happening tomorrow. I'm not going to get political because I don't feel that this is the place for it. I feel like we can look more at a macro level of what's happening and look at the transformations that can happen inside of ourselves as we raise our level of awareness, as we start to realize that we create this world that is around us. And I've been using the energy of the moon cycles in order to bring in this internal guidance from my higher self. So I want to invite you to do the same. So last time we set intention, we did some ceremony. And now this one, for the full moon, I want to invite you into deep level contemplation about what's been happening for you over the last couple weeks. How much time do you give yourself to reflect, to take a look? Take a look at the stories that you have been hooked into. What has been happening for you? As the moon energy starts to build, we get a real influx of guidance. And if we don't take the time to tune into it, it gets out there in the external world getting hooked into things. If you slow down and really consider what's coming up, that's where the magic happens. That's where you open up the door to synchronicity. I'm going to talk about synchronicity a lot over these because it's something that has started to really happen for me. I've started to depart from the guidance of others, the guidance of the media, the guidance of what's out there, and really stop and listen to what my higher self is telling me. Yeah, hasn't been the easiest couple weeks, but there have been some incredible moments of joy and some incredible moments of being able to sit with things that are deep level wounds that I have. And so I invite you to do the same. I invite you to breathe, soften, and relax and contemplate what has been coming up for you. Because what's on the inside is making everything on the outside happen. Everything. Even the big stuff. Because we are putting our thoughts into the collective consciousness. And when we're doing that, sending up our thoughts, and we're so hooked into polarized stories, then we're missing the beautiful frequencies that are coming in from source. So, let's talk about the moon, the full moon. Why is it a time where, there's a lot of mythology about what happens, and people often jokingly say, oh, it's a full moon. It definitely amps up energies. And you know why? Because the moon is receiving all the energy of the sun. That's why we see it big and bold and beautiful. And how incredible we got this full moon on Halloween when the veil was very thin, at its thinnest. Some people say that at least. So I, on Saturday, spent quite a bit of time in the Akashic Records trying to bring in this stuff. I just couldn't quite connect the dots yet, but I'm ready to do that now. So the first message that came through, and I did use a couple of my tarot decks to bring this in, was manifestation. So Spirit wanted me to talk about the nature of manifestation. So really, when we look at manifestation, one of the key things that came to me is that, we don't always manifest what it is we think that we want. You're going to manifest what your soul needs or what you need to bring you into the highest frequency and vibration, so that you then can attract a life of abundance and prosperity. So what this means is it means that you need to pay attention. Pay attention to the things that are coming up. What is making you feel uncomfortable? What feels really emotional? And how hooked are you in that? How hooked are you getting into the emotional reality of your life? Because you are actually attracting what you give your focus to. So if you did anything else right now, just stop, pause, and say, what has been happening over the last couple of weeks? What have I attracted into my life? And where has my focus been? This is really key, because one of the things that was coming to me was about units of energy. Everything is about units of energy. Money, that's just energy. It's actually not positive or negative. It's just energy. So where you spend your time is going to reap the rewards. So if you have this scarcity mentality, everything is always going to be scarce. It will be a storyline of scarcity. So question, you will attract what you give your focus to. So what are you focusing on? The manifestation card also says you're about to experience something that you have longed for. But guess what? The universe doesn't always give it to you in the most ideal way, because if you are still living in some shadow frequency, it's going to give you the opportunity to transform that. And this is where we have to raise our level of self-awareness, raise our emotional intelligence. Give it that level up. This really, in particular, relates to emotional self-regulation. If you're somebody who has a high level of self-awareness, but still your emotions take you sidetracked, then what you can do is you can stop. Give yourself space. Give yourself time before reacting with an emotion. And it could even be a high, joyous, beautiful emotion that puts you into action. But because it is so big, you might not reap exactly what it is that you intended to sow. You create your life through how you feel. So what makes your heart sing? The second card I got was justice. And this card really calls us to a period of deep contemplation. What are the causes and effects that are happening in your life? Can you see the part that you play in the life that you have right now, in how you feel, in what you're manifesting? This card is really about energy transference. So back to that, thinking about where am I putting my energy and my focus? We're being called to look at that right now. We're being called to higher levels of responsibility. Responsibility. What is my ability to respond? Where am I emotionally? Where is my health, my mental health? These things all make a difference in how you show up in the world. And how you show up in the world is what you're going to attract in your life. So what part are you playing? The next card that I got was the Seven of Cups. And this is a big one. Because the cups in this particular deck, they represent matters of the heart. And so in particular for me, this has been big over the last couple weeks as I have considered the relationships that are in my life. And the Eight of Cups has to do with fantasy and daydreaming. But what it's really doing is it's calling you to kind of look into your heart and ask what you truly desire instead of just daydreaming about the fantasy. It's asking you to look and say, how much is what I want lining up with my reality? So for me, this is where I've been able to really see a shadow side of myself. And it comes in the triad of looking at dishonesty, intimacy, and transparency. And the universe has been tricky. It's thrown some big stuff in my way, right in my path, in order for me to look at that. And it's showing up in my primary relationships. And I think this is why I was having a hard time making this video, because a lot of what's been happening is incredibly personal. So I want to try to talk about this triad in a way that might resonate. We're moving as a planet towards greater oneness. When you look at what transparency means, transparency literally means that I can see through you. Not in a way that means that you have no substance. I think a lot about Ram Dass in his book, Grist for the Mill. And in the beginning, he has this definition of namaste, where, not definition, but just sort of what it means. And I think that it's so incredibly beautiful. And he says that I see in you the light that is the entire universe. And when you are that way in you, and I am that way in me, we are one. Okay? What does that mean? It means that you are the universe. You actually are the universe. Everyone is. Every single person that you meet. You are creator source. It is within you. And as we awaken to that level of transparency and you see that in another person, it's transparency. It's like you merge with that person. That is the highest level. And it relates to relationship in a very interesting way. You see, the shadow side of that is dishonesty. Dishonesty. Now, it's important to know that the shadow sides are not these terrible things, because if you think that way, you will repress them and you will never accept them, and you can never move into the higher levels of what is in that little seed packet. Now, when we're in relationship, especially close ones, there is a certain level of dishonesty that happens. It creates mystery and intrigue. It's exciting. It's something that we need to accept because it will move us to intimacy. Into me, you see. And I found that this is very delicate, extremely delicate. And it takes a great deal of honesty. But not just honesty with another person, honesty with yourself. So this came up for me with both a close friendship and my personal relationship. And that what I realized is that I am honestly not very honest with myself. I have a very hard time saying what it is that I want because I have a deep-seated fear of losing attention and affection from another person. Well, when I'm in that place, I am not seeing that we are one. I am seeing that we are separate. I am seeing that I need something from you so that I can be whole, instead of accepting that I am whole and loved. You are whole and loved. And I want to emanate that level of love. So it's a really big learning for me. And it brought up the fact that I am not necessarily in right relationship with everyone in my life. So what does it mean to you to be in right relationship? Now, this came up from my friend Mike, and it just absolutely beautiful timing, and it was some work he was doing with his coach around some relationships. And what he shared with me, and I was so incredibly full of joy to hear this, was that things were flowing for him in life because he had finally put his relationships in right relationship. And he shared a story with me with someone, and it had to do with whether or not he had an agreement with that person to hold them in their integrity. This is huge. What does it mean for someone to hold you in integrity? This goes to what your pillars or your principles are in life. Because when you know what your principles are and you stand by them, those closest to you in relationship with you can hold you in integrity. They can call you on those principles. But if you're wandering around daydreaming about this life, then you don't have an understanding of what your principles are, how you want to show up in this world. Then you will be reactive and retracting and constricting to your shadow all the time. Our shadow is what keeps us in this hard shell, separate. So I thought about this in terms of being in integrity in my closest relationships. And I realized that out of fear of losing attention from people, I hide things. I'm not always transparent. And that means that I haven't created a safe or brave space to receive feedback. One, my own actions are I become defensive. And two, I've noticed that I fear giving feedback because I don't want to lose affection. And on a higher level, I have a very hard time asking for what I want and what I need because I fear that it's wrong, instead of being honest so that I can move my relationships into bigger and deeper intimacy. Now, the learning from this is that not every relationship you have is that type of relationship. So as you move them into right relationship, you recognize, is this the type of relationship where I'm holding this person in integrity and they're holding me in integrity? Do we have that agreement? So with your closest partner, yes, I would think you would want to be there. Your closest friend, maybe even your family members. A big understanding I had was around my sister. I always thought growing up that my sister just knew how to say the thing that made me feel the most uncomfortable. Like she knew what my deepest insecurities were, and I really was, always thought that was a bad thing. I'm like literally sitting in the deepest level of appreciation for my sister, because she is someone who is here in this life to hold me in integrity. And I know that our relationship will grow and deepen as we explore and make that commitment to one another. It's the same with my best friend, same with my partner. And in a lot of ways, it's the same with my children. Holding each other in integrity. Now, it takes a lot of energy to do that. And you want to make sure your energy is going in the right place. This is how you will manifest prosperity and abundance. I personally have a tendency to give too much energy all the time. So this understanding of what are my relationships and how do I bring them into right relationship? Not every single one has to be this, I'm holding you in integrity. And what that means is that you can let some stuff go with people when you know what the level of relationship is with that person. This is a big one for me. And you're likely going to hear me talk about dishonesty, intimacy, and transparency quite a lot. So the last one I got, card that I got was Awakening. What an absolutely beautiful card. What is happening in this world? I read the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle when I was about 27, 28 years old, and it had such a profound effect on me. And I recently started listening to it again, and I have a deeper understanding. We are on the precipice of a major change. Major. It's the end of a cycle. I knew nothing of this at all, and I've been following my intuitive guidance, and then I've started learning more and more about what is happening. So this card, it really is calling you to understand your inner divine intelligence. You, my friend, have a channel inside of you. You have a channel. It's muddied, possibly. It's not coming in clearly. There are lots of frequencies out there. And in order to clear the channel, we have to look at our fears. We have to look at our doubts. We have to let go of our fear and our resentment and anything that puts us into a polarized state. We have to be willing to sit and breathe and be with the things that make us uncomfortable. This relates back to the relationships in our life. They are all here as perfect mirrors. And the more you can move to seeing those mirrors, the more you will awaken that channel, that clear channel. So one of the things that you can do is to practice forgiveness. Look back on the choices you've made and identify the lessons you have learned. It's a big thing. One of the things my partner and I did this month was Sober October, as many of you may have done as well. It's pretty popular. And it was so incredibly fitting because of the journey that we were taking in our relationship. A lot came up. The universe decided to throw a lot in our face. And the depth in which we were able to talk about what was coming up was incredible. And we would not have been able to do that had there been intoxication involved. Now, personally, I've had this on again, off again relationship with alcohol. And quite frankly, this month really feels like I'm ready to say goodbye forever, because the ability to sit with my discomfort and have the support of relationships around me where I can talk about the things that make me feel vulnerable and scared instead of distracting myself by intoxication was brilliant. Now, this is not a teetotaler conversation, but as you move higher level in your spirituality and as you can connect in with your inner guidance and sit with the things that make you uncomfortable, the less you're going to need those distractions. Now I'm ready to look at all the other distractions because I'm hooked. I'm hooked on this journey. So much to unpack. And I think it's really fitting that I've done this video today because over the next 6 months, I will be embarking on some deep level work on myself. I've been introduced to this beautiful work called the Gene Keys, and I'm hooked. I'm absolutely hooked. So I'll be doing a 6-month retreat called the Venus Sequence, where I will be unlocking the understanding of the relationships in my life and how they have brought me to where I am, why I am manifesting the reality that I am right now. So you can really think macro to micro, as above, so below. As you heal yourself, you will be healing things for the collective. So I want to leave with a little bit of an exercise. I just want us to enter this space together. If you're still with me, then this clearing is for you. We're going to clear through the Akashic Records. I want you to think about abundance. What do you have an abundance of? And I want you to breathe, soften, relax. Right down into your root chakra. Allow the breath into your body, breathing in light from around you, letting go of any lower frequency energies you might be carrying. And I want you to feel abundance. And I want you to ask yourself, what is blocking my abundance? It doesn't have to be a particular story that comes up. Our bodies are tuning forks. You will feel it somewhere in your body. It might be a tightness, it might be a pain, it might be an ache, but it's there in your body. And I just want you to feel it for a moment. And I want you to ask yourself, what does that feeling need? Does it need acceptance? need love? Does it need care? Whatever it needs, I just want you to breathe it into that spot. I want you to sit with it and allow your breath to enter that spot. It might be a storyline that just keeps playing obsessively for you. Give it what it needs. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, if you're interested in doing a one-on-one session with me, you can catch me on my Facebook page. I'll put the link in the description here. I do a combination of coaching and energy work, breath work, meditation, contemplation. And I've got lots of videos on my Facebook page, so have a look there. And I wish you the best as you contemplate. We're going into the waning of the moon. This will be a time that if you pay attention, everything that culminated will start to unravel. So I see in you the light that is the entire universe. And when you are in that way in you, and I am in that way in me, we are